Hey everyone, thanks for hopping on. First webinar of 2022. For those of you joining that may not know me, my name is Kristen Jansen. I'm the new Assistant Director of Alumni Relations. So part of my job entails doing these webinars and different events for you guys, working with young alumni. Also working with MTSU Connect, which is our networking platform. If you have not joined it, we most certainly want to get you to be a part of that. And then doing some stuff with the Career Center, the current students. So a lot of different pots that I'm kind of sticking my hands in. But today we're going to go over just some networking strategies. It's a new year. Maybe you are about to graduate. You maybe want to get a new job, kind of make that big career change. So I've got some experts here from a couple different areas, all tied to the university. So I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves. We're going to go through just kind of a panel. I'm just going to throw some questions at them, get their expertise and their advice for you guys. And then towards the end, we will open it up for some more Q&A. So stay tuned and we will go ahead and get this bad boy rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Holly Allen, who is with the MTSU Career Development Center. Take it away, Holly.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Kristen, for having this panel. I work as a career advisor for the Career Development Center. I've been here 2 years now. I'm a career changer. And so I have a whole other career background in the entertainment industry. I was a casting director, a professional actor, and an acting teacher. I still dabble. I teach some acting classes as a little side hustle. In addition to my job, I got into higher ed when I was in Chicago working at Northwestern. I was working in career services for the School of Communication. And then my spouse got a professor job here at MTSU. And so we moved back a couple of years ago. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be hired in the career office here. I love the work. I get to meet with students one-on-one. And talk about all things career related. So anything from I have no idea what I want to do with my life to I know exactly what I want to do, but I need some action steps to get there. Our services and our resources are all available to you as alumni, even one-on-one appointments. So I encourage you to make use of us and book an appointment with me. You can email if you don't have. You can do it through Pipeline if you still have your MTSU email address, but if you don't, you can just send an email to me, which is really easy. It's just holly.allen@mtsu.edu and we can set something up.
Awesome. Thank you, Holly. Danielle?
Hi, I'm Danielle Fowler, and my connection to the university is quite lengthy. I started at MTSU as a student, undergrad, and then also graduate school, and then also spent about 9.5 years there as a professional in admissions and advising and corporate outreach. So my entire career has been focused on college students, which has led me to my current company at AllianceBernstein, which is global asset management firm headquartered in downtown Nashville. And here I work with college students again. So I'm on the campus recruitment team and we hire lots and lots of interns and new associates, new graduates to start every summer. And so it feels like a professional version of new student orientation every day. So it's exciting, and I'm glad to be here. I'd love to, share my expertise from both the university side and now the corporate side as well with those who are on the job hunt.
And last but not least, Miss Dia Garcia.
Hello, everyone. As Kristen mentioned, my name is Dia Garcia, and I am a two-time graduate from MTSU. I studied psychology for undergrad and then did the higher education program for graduate school. My work experience is exclusively in higher education, specifically in recruitment and career services. I've worked at a couple of different institutions, including MTSU, but also Belmont and Ole Miss. And I am currently working at Bellarmine University in Louisville, Kentucky. My passion is connecting young adults with opportunities that make them successful and then speaking to them about their career calling. So I'm super excited to be chatting with you all today.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm going to start out with a pretty simple question. Where does someone get started with networking? Say they are, about to graduate, or maybe they're trying to make that first big, career change from one industry to another. What's kind of some advice that you would give them? I'll just start from the top of my screen. Danielle, do you mind going first?
Sure. So I would say that your options for networking are limitless. They are as vast as each individual, So I would say start where you are. If that means starting with building relationships with your professors, getting some mentorship from them on, how to make those steps into the professional world, whether that's classmates, that's a great place to start as well. Some of my best colleagues, I was just talking to one yesterday, that someone that I used to work with years ago, was a classmate of mine, and we still have a great relationship, 10 years later. So I would say start where you are, but don't be afraid to push yourself, to that next level. Don't be afraid to ask people to mentor you. And then another thing that I personally have done, because it was a good fit for me, was that I got really involved in my community, whether that's your campus community or your city. I think that getting involved in, especially like nonprofits, volunteerism, things like that, it gives you a natural way to build your network, because you're working together with people that you otherwise wouldn't know toward a common goal. And that's, again, been one of my best sources personally for networking.
Right. Holly, how about you?
I would say start with the people you know. Okay, who is in your actual circle? That could be, who do your parents know? Who do your friends know? And let people know that you're looking for a job. Like, tell everybody that you're looking, because you never know where an opportunity is going to appear. It could be like your dental assistant knows somebody. So just be really forthcoming with what you're looking for. So start with the people that you know, and then I always say go to other alumni, or go, if you're still a student, tap the alumni network. You can find, I know that the alumni office has a resource, MTSU Connect, right? And then also you can find alums on LinkedIn. If you have a LinkedIn account, go to the MTSU school page, and on the school page for MTSU on LinkedIn, there's an alumni button. And that allows you to search by job title, company, industry, and then a list of alums will pop up, and then you can connect that way. So that's an actual, like, really practical way to try to find. And I always say go to alums first, because you already have something in common, rather than, you can absolutely try to find a professional that is working in your industry that you don't know. I just think it's a warmer contact if you already have something in common. So that's why I say go to alums first. But I think that can be a really great technique. And then once you do find professionals, to start conducting informational interviews. I'm a big fan of informational interviews, or you could just call them 20-minute career chats, where you just ask someone, hey, can I borrow 20 minutes of your time to ask you questions about what you do, how you got into the industry, tell me about the company, what's the worst part of the job, what's the best part of the job. And what you're doing is you're forming relationships with people. I had a student that was referred to me. She was a grad student up in Bloomington, and a colleague of mine referred her to me, and she did an informational interview with me because she wanted to get into career services, and she made a great impression. And then when we had a job available, I emailed her and said, hey, we have a job available. So that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping to make a connection, and that what comes out of that is they will say, oh, so tell me about yourself, or, oh, why don't you send me your resume? Always follow up with a thank you whenever you have contact with somebody. and have it be immediate, like follow up immediately. That would be my practical advice.
All right, Dia, what you got?
Well, I want to say you can pay Holly later for that plug for MTSU Connect. But yes, I definitely agree with all of the things that both Danielle and Holly both said. I want you to remember that it starts with just natural conversations, okay? We're all people, we all have interests, we all have experiences. So just start with the conversation. Remember that networking is really about building relationships. And so it's important to build those relationships. It's not always about what you can get from somebody else, but think about what you can offer them. So it's always good to, in some point in the conversation, ask them how you can help them. That's going to set you apart from basically everyone else within their network, because think about the people that you have contact. You don't want to continuously talk to somebody who's going to talk about give me, give me, give me, give me. So ask them how you can help them. And remember, it is about the relationships. And when you help someone, you help yourself, because what you get is what you give.
Thank you, ladies. That was all really, really great advice. And I can kind of relate to a lot of that, especially starting with the people that you know, and then going kind of making your way through the droves of all of your different little pockets of people. So next question I kind of want to throw at you guys is, for those of you who are interviewing people who are looking for candidates, what is something that you look for that would just put a candidate for a job in your office just above everyone else? Is there anything particular that would stick out to you guys? Dia, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think communication and interpersonal skills are something that's extremely important. I've been on several different hiring committees, and there's certain skills that you can't teach, okay? The technical experiences, the databases, the specific things to do in the role that you are applying for, those things are teachable, but we cannot teach communication skills and interpersonal skills. So I think that those are extremely important. Also, it's important that you have self-awareness. If you revert back to probably your freshman year at MTSU, you probably took a university seminar class and we talked about your values, your interests, and your personality. Kind of revisit those things and be sure that you are self-aware and that you can communicate those skills and your values and your personality with others so that you know and they know what you have to offer.
So yes, all of that is perfect. Just to kind of, I guess, echo what Dia just said, I had considered too, mentioning that soft skills are huge. So of course we want you to be educated and trained and, have the degree from MTSU, hopefully, and all of that. But how are you going to work in that team that you're being hired into? So one thing that we say at AllianceBernstein that we are constantly looking for is intellectual curiosity. So it kind of fits hand in hand. Like, are you willing to put forth that effort to grow, grow learning the skills themselves, grow to be part of the team, grow as a professional? Are you curious about the growth that's coming down the path for you? And yeah, just being friendly is so important. Being genuine is very important. That will make a candidate stand out from my perspective if they have both the skills and are just simply nice.
Holly, anything from your point of view on that one?
Yes, I would, just to reiterate what Danielle said, I think people hire people they like. And so that authenticity piece and enthusiasm, like express your interest in the job. I know we'll probably get into interviewing skills or talk about that a little bit, but I think sometimes that job seekers get, like, their nerves get the best of them, or they feel sometimes like they have to play a professional in an interview, and we lose some of their personality. or their sense of humor, and people really hire people they like. So don't lose yourself in those situations, because what Dia said earlier, everyone's a person, like we're all just people, and people are hiring people. So I think that's great to keep in mind.
Well, that does actually segue into my next set of questions for you guys. What are some big interview to-dos, and what are some don'ts? Because I know that's something when I was working with students and advising, a lot of them had never been on a professional interview. So at that point, we would walk over to career development and we would get them signed up for, some kind of mock interview, looking over the resume, cover letter and whatnot. For many of them, they didn't work in high school and they were about to graduate and they said, I don't really know what to do. So if you could kind of give everyone in attendance today just kind of some main things to do and then some serious red flags, that would be an absolute do not. Holly, I'll start with you because I know that's kind of your area of expertise.
Sure. I would say, really the thing about interviews to me is to prepare. The majority of the work that you're going to do around an interview is the preparation for it. So when I have an interview that's important to me, I will type up every single question I think I could be asked, and I will type up my answer to it. Not so, you don't want to memorize it because you want the conversation to flow organically and you don't want to seem stiff, right? But writing it down, I think, lodges it in your mind so that when you are asked a question, you know that you have the answer to it. So I cannot emphasize that enough, preparation. And I would say practice it out loud. I mean, maybe this is coming from my background in acting, but I think articulating your answers out loud helps connect between your brain and your mouth so that the first time you aren't saying these answers out loud is in the interview room. So I think that can be really helpful. Just so that you have practice, especially if you lean towards introversion, it's already super nerve-wracking for you. So having that practice verbally is helpful.
So I'll just jump in and say that one of the things that I hear most often from the hiring managers that I work with is that they're turned off when a candidate doesn't know what we do as a company. So that's very important. Know who you're talking with, know about their business, know about the role, do your research on the company, maybe look up some current, recent news articles about the company. So they're not just hiring you for a particular role to be in a silo, they're hiring you to be part of a larger company. So you need to know what that looks like. Oh, and a couple of don'ts. I've got some of those, but the one thing I will mention is that because we have shifted so heavily to remote or Zoom interviews, people feel a lot more relaxed, which is great. I love that we do that. The Zoom interviews make people feel less stiff and less nervous because they're in their comfort zone at home or in their office or wherever they are. But don't get too relaxed. I've heard of an employer who was interviewing someone and they were, interviewing in their car on their cell phone, like looking like a selfie. Anyway, it just doesn't give off the right impression that you're taking it seriously and devoting the time. So I love like I said, the more relaxed nature that we have these days with interviewing, but still be professional.
Yes, I'll piggyback off that if that's okay. We had an employer come and speak to a class yesterday, and she talked about that, how she was interviewing somebody via Zoom and the person was in their bedroom and their bed was unmade and the pets were on the bed. And in her mind, she thought, how is this person going to stay organized in their work if they're not organized at home? So your background is really important when it comes to Zoom.
Yes, please no interviews in the car or in your bedroom with the bed unmade. Those Yes, please no. So another interview not to do. I think we have to recognize the importance of interviews. Like, you are a candidate and you want to set yourself apart from everyone else that's in the pool. So don't underestimate the importance of an interview. So when you're thinking about how important an interview is, you automatically don't do things like interviewing in your pajamas or interviewing from a car. So when you think about the importance of an interview, that helps you kind of set the tone. As mentioned already, it is extremely important that you do your research, not only about the organization, but also the people who are interviewing you. You know, everything is not going to be just about answering the questions from the interview. You want to have conversations with people, and it's important that you, again, do the research so that you know who specifically will be interviewing you so that you can have those conversations. It's also important in preparation for the interview that you prepare your clothes at least the night before. Some of us put on an extra pounds during COVID, so you want to make sure that that suit does actually fit, and you want to prepare it beforehand. If your interview is in person, you want to make sure that you know specifically where it is that you're going, how long it's going to take to get there, and make sure that you have the details related to parking, especially the time, because you want to arrive early. You want to arrive at least 15 minutes early. And then also you want to make sure that you have your resumes with you. So pack a portfolio, have a couple of copies of your resume, and then also make sure that you have a notebook and a pen so that you can actually take notes. And then another interview to do, which has already been mentioned before, is to make sure that you do send thank you notes after your interview. We always say that, but you'd really be surprised at how many people actually forget to send those thank you notes. So that goes a long way.
Yes, it's so important. Send an email thank you the day of, and I think it's classy to send an actual thank you note in the mail, because it's so rare now, and that can help stand out. I would also add that you want to prepare questions for the employer as well, because you will be asked, what questions do you have for us towards the end of the interview? And you want to make sure that you have, 3 to 5 questions in your back pocket. You may not ask all of those questions because in the conversation, some of those questions will have been answered. So you want to make sure you got a couple extra to be able to ask some intelligent questions at the end.
I just want to kind of circle back to something that Dia was talking about earlier, and Holly too, the authenticity piece and being genuine. So make sure you bring that to the interview. You can be both professional and personable at the same time. So I just have to reiterate that you don't have to be afraid of your interviewers. They are people, and they want to be in an engaging conversation with you, not in a robotic transactional interview process. So just be yourself.
That is pretty solid advice, ladies, on the do's and the don'ts, especially the pajamas and unmade bed and cats and dogs and whatnot. That did kind of spark something with the recent shift, like you guys said, to doing a lot of Zoom-based interviews and webinars like we're doing right now. Is that something you guys are seeing kind of a big move in your different areas, as far as people wanting those online jobs, people wanting the remote positions? And is that changing the types of people that you guys are getting and applying for your institutions and jobs that are becoming available?
I'll go first on that. So yes, short answer is yes. The pandemic really, shifted the entire workforce, in my opinion. And it shifted the power to the employee or the, candidate. In that, people got really, they felt empowered with the level of autonomy that they had working from home. And so that has definitely shifted, at least in my industry, the finance industry, that has shifted the mindset quite a lot. So with my company, for instance, we do value being in person and collaborating in person and, just knowing who we're working with. And we have a fantastic building in downtown Nashville that we want to take advantage of. But on the other hand, the company knows that the employees want that flexibility. So what we have right now, and I foresee it lasting indefinitely, is that we are in the office 3 days a week and we can be remote 2 days if we want to. We also have a flexible arrive and departure time of the workday. So I really see that companies, and I think that's not just my company, but our peer companies as well. Companies are making those adjustments because they know that they worked through the pandemic. We still want to bring those elements back of the traditional office, but we don't necessarily need everyone punching a clock, 8 to 5 or whatever. So I think that flexibility is going to remain indefinitely.
I would agree with what Danielle has said. We were even seeing the shifts in higher education. My position, I do work from home, but even at the university, we have flex days, and similar to what Danielle said, there's 2 days out of the week that my colleagues can work from home. So it's definitely helpful, especially because there are certain things that you actually just do better when you are at home and you don't have to share space or you don't have to be interrupted by a colleague. So I agree that organizations are recognizing the benefits, and they're also even recognizing the needs of employees. During COVID, or let me say after COVID, there's been a lot of recognition that, even though we work 2,080 hours a year, our work is not our entire life. And so it's important for organizations to retain good talent. So they're really making adjustments to, the work days, but then also mental health and benefits as well.
I'm so glad you mentioned mental health. It's nice that there is a focus on that now. There really needs to be. But it's so interesting for me from a career advisor perspective just to hear you both talk about that, because that's information that we can then talk to the students about. I mean, it does seem that that's the trend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'll also just say, because, everyone on this call is alum, it's okay to not understand or be a little nervous about those transitions. I'm sure a lot of you have had experiences where you are going into the office and then you're working there every single day. So I think it's important to give yourself grace and mercy and then really evaluate what does work for you. So for example, my husband, he worked from home during the pandemic, and he was so excited to go back to the office because he needed that structure of the day. But then he also likes to dress up and get out of the house. So just recognize what it is that you like and prefer. Do you want to be able to stay at home, or do you need the structure of being in an office? So it's important to evaluate what works for you, and then make sure that you're communicating that with the organizations that you're applying to, because it could add some organizations and positions to the list, or it can delete some off of the list, depending on your preferences.
That's a good point, Dia, because I personally I need the, at least some structure of an office. I think I wouldn't do very well with fully remote. But on the other hand, I like that flexibility. So I totally understand where your husband's coming from with needing to, get dressed up occasionally.
So on that note, do you three feel that it is appropriate for someone job hunting to ask about that flexibility? Is that something that y'all are seeing when you are interviewing candidates at here we are 2022, 2 years in?
I think the information is probably already out there. I think the organization probably already has a policy in place. And I think you need to be careful during the interview process, because if you start off, let's say, this is my first interview and I say, hey, do I have the option to work from home? That might throw a red flag to the employer related to what you have to offer. So I think you should just wait, and that information is probably going to be shared with you, or it might already be shared with you in the job description. I'm seeing that in a lot of the job descriptions that I've seen recently, to say that this position is remote, and then the specific requirements related to the office versus being at home.
So in addition to that, when you're in an interview, you're really also interviewing the company. So ask your questions. Like Dia said, you don't have to necessarily, drill them on how much am I going to get paid, or what are my benefits, or what am I going to get out of this? You don't want to leave the conversation, the interview, with that impression. But on the other hand, you need to know if this company is a good fit for you. Because like I said, with the current, workforce situation, the power is quite a bit in the candidate's hand. And so if you don't think that my company is a great fit for you, wouldn't it be great to know that kind of on the front end, rather than wait until the fourth interview, final interview. So I don't think it's inappropriate to ask questions, not just about being remote, but salary and all of that stuff too. Just don't make it your primary focus.
That's really good to hear, Danielle, and different from what I have actually been thinking, because I feel like those questions about salary and scheduling and time off happen during the offer. Like when you're offered, that's the time for negotiation. So it's really interesting to hear that those questions could be answered earlier.
Of course, some companies might be different, just as much as there are different people in the world, there are different people, different opinions on that. But I don't think it's a red flag unless you are, like I said, really kind of honing in on that.
Or start off with that. Don't start off with that.
Right, exactly, for sure. And that it's not the time to negotiate. So the negotiations would happen on the front end, but certainly we might say, this is the range that this position would pay. So that's what we're looking at. That's what you're working with. So if that's not a good fit for you, then, then maybe this isn't, or we won't continue. So.
Right.
So kind of a shift into that, when you are interviewing and you're trying to get your name out there, do you guys look at social media? I know that's kind of that's where I usually go when I'm looking at candidates. I'm going to look at your LinkedIn page and, see what your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter account look like, because that kind of gives more of I feel like a personal insight to people. And, there's the authenticity. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it is not great. So is that kind of a standard practice that your companies and your institutions are going to take part of when it comes to interviewing candidates?
LinkedIn, yes, absolutely. With my role at my company, we simply don't have time to look at every candidate's Facebook or Instagram or whatever, because we have so many positions. I'm within an HR department. So it could be that those hiring managers are doing that investigation, online, but we just don't. We look at the resume and we assume that that's, the representation of the person that is genuine. However, I'll say that with a grain of salt. If someone were to look, you wouldn't want them to find something offensive or troubling. So I don't make it a standard practice to do that, but if I did, make sure it's, it's up to that professionalism standard. But I don't think you have to worry about, again, not being your genuine self. It's okay to be a person and have a life outside of work. So, but LinkedIn, use that to your full advantage for sure.
I agree with what Danielle said. And I would just also encourage you, you can live your life and you can live your life on social. Just make your profiles private so it's not able to be searched. I related to looking up candidates during the interview process. I think a lot of interviewers do that when it comes down to finalists. So we're not going to look at all of the candidates who have submitted applications, but definitely when it comes down to finalists, that might be something that we would do.
Holly, anything on your end? Is that anything that you ever take part in, or even in like your previous industry before you got into higher education? Was that a common practice with you if you were ever on a hiring committee?
Not so much like actual social media, but LinkedIn for sure. I think that, and if you're listening to this call and you're an alum, hopefully you have a LinkedIn account. And if you don't, that's come and see me. We can talk about how to, I have a worksheet where you can cross out boxes as you do them to get your LinkedIn profile in good shape. But I think even when we hire here, I'm not in a leadership position where I'm a decision maker. However, we do participate in the interview process, and I absolutely look at everybody's LinkedIn page, especially if you're coming into career services. I think you better have a LinkedIn page, you know. I mean, that's what we do. So.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. That is such great information. I know I'm learning little tidbits, even though I just went through a big interview process. I mean, it's just fascinating to hear all the different areas and points of view that you guys have. It is so incredibly helpful, I know, to everyone that is in attendance today. I've got just one kind of more topic to kind of get you guys insight on, just to kind of share with the group. And that is kind of the trends in resumes and cover letters. I've been, I read some research the other day from the Career Development Center that said cover letters may or may not be on their way in or out. So is that something that you guys have any insight on one way or the other?
Cover letters are out. That's my opinion. Again, the resume is what we're looking at. We're looking at the resume to tell us the very brief summary of why you should be hired. So it's not something that we have time for to, look at the cover letter. And also we're looking at the resume. So we already know, that you want this job and that these are your qualifications. So that's my opinion. Again, every employer could be totally different, but that's the trend in my world.
I think you need to just follow the instructions on the job posting. Typically, a job posting will say, submit a resume and cover letter if they want a cover letter. My opinion is if the cover letter is optional, which sometimes we see that it's optional, I would say go ahead and submit it just in case, but make sure it's good, because a bad cover letter can work against you, even if your resume is great, if your letter is not good. So you just need to make sure that all of your professional materials that you are turning in are awesome. They're marketing documents, so they need to sound as awesome as possible without lying.
I would agree. Yes, they are marketing documents, and they're your entry into the organization. So if you have those awesome documents, then you'll be invited to an interview where you can elaborate on the skills. So again, you want to set yourself apart from everybody who has submitted an application. I agree with what Holly said related to if it's optional, submit that information. It's also a great opportunity in a cover letter for you to speak specifically about the organization and how your values and your experiences align with the organization. So again, if it's required or optional, submit that cover letter. I also agree with what Danielle said, that there's not a lot of time for people reviewing documents. They're only going to spend a couple of seconds on the resume. And then if they like you, they might spend a minute or two on the cover letter. So you want to make sure that resume is clean, neat, concise, and you want to make sure that you have relevant experience specifically for the job that you are applying for. So if you're applying for different types of positions, you want to make sure that you're updating your resume to reflect those skills and experiences that that job and that employer are looking for. And then also a note, this is kind of one of the don'ts. If you do write the cover letter, make sure that you've updated the organization name and the job. I've been on several interview committees where it would be like a completely different organization that they've listed in the cover letter. So that lets me know, hey, this person is just applying for lots of positions and they don't have attention to detail because they didn't check to make sure that everything was up to date.
Pay attention to the date as well. I was on a hiring committee a couple months ago, and the cover letter was 3 years old. Also the wrong job, which was unfortunate, but that's just something when you have to pay attention to detail, that tells your employer or potential employer that much more about you. Is that, oh, hey, I figured out and I fine-tuned all these things. And here's a perfect example of me on a single piece of double-spaced paper, or however you want to submit that. Danielle, sorry, I think I came in over you on that one.
Oh, you're fine. I was just going to say that have your resume or cover letter, if you choose to do that, is so critical that you have someone review it. So I know the Career Center offers that service, but just that extra set of eyes, like you guys are talking about, those simple mistakes that should be very obvious, but we get such in a routine and overlook things. Have your resume checked out pretty regularly to make sure that you're giving them impression that you want.
3 years old on the date.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That also sort of speaks to, you don't care, right? You don't like, I'm just going to throw my resume out there and see what happens. So I think that tailoring, being really specific about why you want to work for this organization, and then using keywords on your resume, literally pull words off of the job description if they are true for you, and make sure they're on your resume. That can help elevate where your resume goes and who looks at it.
Fantastic advice. Really, really, really great. Thank you guys. Oh my goodness, you guys are just so full, like little wells and fountains of knowledge. I love it. That is actually it for the formal Q&A panel part. I'm going to start taking questions from the chat. So if you've got something, you can either send it directly to me or you can put it directly in the chat box. Looks like we have our first one over here. Any good tips for after applying, but before the interview, that can maybe give you a leg up on getting that interview over the rest of the applicant pool?
I'll go back to what Holly said during the beginning, informational interviews. So let's take Danielle's organization, for example. She's one of many people who do interviews. She mentioned LinkedIn, so you can connect with different people at her organization and then maybe ask them for an informational interview kind of during that time. And then you can let that person know, hey, I just recently applied for this position that you all have available, and just put that word out there. You don't have to ask anything, but again, remember, during that conversation, you're informing that person of all that you do have to offer, and you're expressing interest in the organization. So then that person could go back to Danielle and say, hey, I just had a quick chat with so-and-so. I really think that we should offer them an interview. So that's just an example. So make sure that you're reaching out to different people in the organization to learn more about the organization and express what it is that you have to offer.
My first thought when you asked that question was connect on LinkedIn. So I agree.
We typically tell students to send a little email, a brief, friendly, professional email. Brief is the operative word here. introducing yourself after you've applied, introducing yourself and saying how excited you are that you've just applied for this job and you just wanted to introduce yourself. Because so much of hiring happens from human connection rather than just looking at resumes. It's who do we know? Who has been proactive enough to reach out to someone? Who has put in a good word for someone? So anything you can do to make that human connection, as long as it's authentic. Again, remember that piece that Danielle was talking about. It needs to be not, right? You don't want to go about it in a way that feels like you're really trying to get something. It needs to happen in an organic, friendly, brief, kind way.
All right, let's see, we got another one. Is it appropriate to ask about salary and or benefits in an interview?
I do, as long as it's not the first thing that you ask, as long as you are, progressing through the interview in a good way, as long as you feel like it's an appropriate time to ask, then I think it's personally fine. Just do it tastefully. That's my advice.
I would agree. It's also important to do your research. So, the organization, the role. So you're likely able to find that information online. You can go to Glassdoor, PayScale. There's lots of different websites that you can look at to see kind of the range. And then it's also important to look at the location as well, because once that interviewer provides you a salary, you need to be able to identify, yes, this salary does work for me, and yes, this salary is market related to other people doing the role and the position. But just be prepared for a range, and also be prepared that they're probably not going to give you an exact number, especially early on in the hiring process. Those conversations come later during the offer. So, yes.
Let's see.
There's a resource, a government resource that we often recommend to students to look at called onetonline.org, and that has salary information, and you can search by state. And that'll give you a good median. I think that's a great advice, Dia, to do that, especially for negotiation too, so that right, that you're not being offered something that is not what is typical for the area that you're in.
Yeah, something to remember during negotiation is whoever says the number first likely loses the negotiation.
That's great. That's a great rule.
All right, Holly, we got one specifically for you. How would Holly advise a performer to apply the information in this seminar? Does she have any specific resources or career advice for performers?
Yes, come and see me. I have a ton of resources. Make an appointment with me. We can meet via Zoom, even if you're not in the area or don't want to come to campus. Because performers, it's different. It's right, you're auditioning if you're a performer. A lot of the principles still apply as far as being a nice, kind, authentic human being that we want to work with for however many, but performers, it's gig work too. And so I talk with students a lot. I talk with a lot of creative students. I'm the liaison to the College of Liberal Arts and the Media and Entertainment schools here. And so we have conversations about what does freelance work look like, entrepreneurial endeavors, that sort of thing. So it is sort of a different industry if you're working in that kind of gig role.
Great question. Thank you, Ed, for submitting that one. Let's see, we got another one in the chat. How would you handle dress code? For instance, how casual a workplace is day to day? Do you fill it out before? Do you wait and ask later? Do you talk about it up front, especially if it is important to you? Yeah, no more t-shirt and leggings on remote days, huh? Now that we're all in the office.
I think it's safer to ask on the front end. I mean, you're a new employee, so why would you know ahead of time like what our office culture is unless we've discussed it. So it's something that you can feel free to ask for sure. I would say that in my office, the attire has relaxed quite a bit, but not definitely not to leggings and t-shirts and things like that. So you'll just see more people wearing jeans, but still look nice. So I'd say that that's where we are right now. If you have a presentation or something like that, of course, you dress business with a suit and tie and all that. But day to day, we basically go by the rule: dress for your day. Whatever your day looks like, dress appropriately for that. But definitely ask if you don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a question that you can kind of hide in another question as well. I think it's important for you all to know that when you are asking questions, that's an opportunity for you to tell the employer more about you. So you can kind of front load the question with information about what you like and expect out of company culture and what your experiences have been. And then maybe ask just a general question like, could you tell me more about company culture, including dress code, flexible hours, and such? So that's a way to kind of hide that and learn more about the company and their culture.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
And office culture is so important, and it was such, I know, a shift for me going remote, where my office went from me and 20 coworkers to me and my dog, which is not terrible, a couple of days out of the week, but I know that transition for me in particular was a difficult one to go home. So I very much like being in the office with people. So one question that I just have for y'all, just my Q&A, I guess. What is the strangest thing that has ever happened to you in an interview?
I have a story. I'm a little nervous to share it. I'll keep it very high level. So I was
not alone.
I will say that I was asked once an illegal question surrounding pregnancy in the interview. You cannot do that. And so it was very early in my career. One of the first real interviews I think I ever had. And so I was so shocked and so taken aback that this person didn't know that you couldn't ask that, first of all. And so my response was, I answered honestly. But my advice to others that might experience something like that, because let's be real, interviewers are people too, and they make mistakes. So you never really know what's coming your way in an interview. You could be thrown a curveball like that. But if I could go back, if I were mentally prepared for that question, I would have said, I would have politely declined to answer that question. And then I would have very seriously considered whether or not that was the type of company that I would want to work with.
That's a very good point that Danielle is making. There are specific questions that interviewers cannot ask. And so you can easily Google, EEOC prohibited questions and kind of read through those lists, but anything related to, like Danielle said, like pregnancy or your sex or religion or disability and things like that, employers are not supposed to ask. So you should definitely answer by saying, I decline to answer. It's also an education moment too, because they may not know, or they may just get away with asking those questions. I think for me, one of the most awkward moments in an interview was when I was on an interview committee, and then there was just like an extreme silence after we asked a question. And the candidate was like silent for like a whole minute, and it was just very, very awkward. So it is important to take time to think about your answer before communicating, but let the audience know that. Say, that was a great question. Give me a moment to think about that. So that would be the moment for me, just the extreme silence and awkwardness.
I don't know if y'all can see the chat, but Paul said, I got asked where my bank account was and a list of credit cards that I had. So I got up and left.
Red flag.
No kidding.
That's great that you got up and left.
Good for you, Paul. We've only got a few more minutes, y'all. Are there any last minute questions that any of you guys in attendance have for our amazing panel this afternoon, our lunchtime panel? Don't see any. Maybe you don't type that fast, sorry. All right, well, I want to give you guys, let's see. What do you do when they make small talk and ask about your personal life? That's a great question.
I think when you ask the questions, you control the small talk. So I would go ahead and prepare some questions that you can ask so that opportunity isn't even available. Because when small talk happens, it's basically because there's again, an awkward silence, or the other party wants to know more about you. But when you ask the questions, you control the conversation. So I would just consider maybe asking the questions first. And then that first question that you ask kind of leads to other questions. And if the conversation were to go personal, then that kind of makes it awkward. So it's unlikely to happen.
If I'm in a situation where that type of conversation starts happening about personal life, I would just keep it very, surface level, honestly. I don't want to hear, any drama that you have going on in your personal life, anything like that. And you also don't want me to know anything that might cause me to have a bias, because you don't know who you're talking to in an interview. So you don't have to give away anything like that. But I do think it's okay to mention hobbies or interests or things that make you you. I think those are safe topics, but I would probably keep the, family life, things like that. I'd probably keep that, save that for a later conversation.
Awesome. I think that is just about all the time we've got today. Panel, thank you so much for joining us today. It really means a lot to the alumni group and our office. Everyone in the chat is telling you guys thank you. Session was wonderful, great information. So we really appreciate the time that you spent with us today. Attendees, I'm going to show you our information right here. So if you have any questions or concerns, you guys can reach out to us. I will be sending y'all a follow-up email with a survey. So be sure and join MTSU Connect. If you have any questions, you can absolutely email me. I'd be happy to answer those for you. And this webinar will be available on the alumni website, hopefully pretty soon. So thank you guys very much. And I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.
Friday.